Welcome back to Talkin' Shop with ShopSabre. I'm Brandon, back with the whole gang this week. We got Chad, Jesse, Garrett. How you guys doing?
Wonderful.
Doing great,
good, sir.
Yeah,
How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing well. We're back for episode 69.
I love that number.
Of course you do.
Oh, great number.
Last week we talked about the little stuff.
Yeah, you were pretty little.
Oh, yeah, hilarious.
It was an episode about Brandon, wasn't it?
It
Yeah.
was not an episode about me. As much as you guys would prefer to make that episode about me, it was not.
It was.
It was not. What'd you guys do this weekend? Anything fun?
What about you, Garrett?
I was camping. I went to a concert, festival, camping. It was fun. We
Yeah.
drank a lot of water and stuff.
How about a beer?
Yeah, that was the theme.
Yeah.
That was the theme.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How did you feel Sunday morning?
Not good.
How'd you feel
have
Monday?
4 to 5 beers to stop the shaking, and then I'll go outside.
I was shaking a lot Sunday. That was it was bad.
Oh, man, to be in my 20s again. Man, Garrett,
No, thank
I
you.
just lived through your life now. This is great. I just sit there and like, Garrett,
We live
what did we
vicariously
do
through
this?
you.
Yeah, what did we do this weekend? Tell me about it.
I have a lot of stories from this weekend for another time.
On
Any pictures or video?
There's some.
on our follow-up podcast on the life of Garrett, we'll talk all about. So what'd you do, Chad?
I went to the zoo with the family and golfed, obviously.
You went to the zoo?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds
Saw
fun.
Clydesdale.
You saw
I was
Clyde's-
wondering what she was doing this weekend.
Oh, that's good. That's
Being
solid.
friendly with all the kids.
That's cool, though.
I have some errands to run. I'll be back in 6 to 8 hours. Okay.
I think that's what it
Makes
sounds like.
sense now.
That's cool. You went to the zoo. Did you golf?
Oh, yeah. Twice.
Yeah. Are you on the PGA yet?
Nope. Just going to live.
Live.
That's right. I forgot. You keep telling
You
me.
take
that.
Tiger's spots, only like 700 mil, I think.
Getting there.
Yeah.
Couple more birdies.
That's right.
Just a couple more. That's all he needs.
Jesse, how about you, buddy?
Oh, I laid low. Didn't do a whole lot. Hung out with a friend for a little bit this weekend. Not a whole lot of going on, though.
Nice.
I like
Dug
that.
a trench for the pool. Got to bury the wiring underground, so I had to dig a trench for the pool.
Actually, I think Brianna dug that trench.
She did. I just had to supervise.
Yeah, I got a Snapchat from her, and she was on her lunch break. It was great. She texted me and said, "Hey, I'm taking lunch. I'll be back in an hour." And then 15 minutes later, I get a Snapchat from her, and she's shoveling in your yard. I'm like, what is going on? So then I waited, and she sent me another one of the entire trench being dug, and I'm like, that's what she did on her lunch break. She went and dug.
I didn't understand. I told her, I said, if you would have gave me a heads up and I took my lunch at the same time, we'd have hooked the plow up to you and we wouldn't have had to dig. We would have just used the plow. But no, she wanted to dig. So when I say we, I watched.
Oh, that's too good. That's a good joke. I like that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that sounds like you
She
guys had a
stopped
good weekend.
listening to us. Yeah, she stopped listening to us weeks ago, man.
What?
Yeah, I don't think she follows us very close anymore.
Unbelievable.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either. We make fun of
Yeah.
her a lot.
Brandon, did you race?
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
I did race this weekend. We finished third on Friday, and we finished first on Saturday.
Woo!
Yeah, so that was a pretty good time, right? Yep, that was us on Saturday.
What happened Friday?
We finished third. It was a good time.
Well, it's not first, so what happened?
We
Heard you had a little mishap.
What? No, where'd you hear
I
that?
heard you had a little mishap.
No.
Yeah.
We don't have mishaps. We have decisions that were made that were poor. That's a difference. Yeah, we had a pretty fast car. Track was a little rough, a little bit hammered down, but we may or may not have gotten into the back of a guy in front of us and spun him out, and they had to go to the back and had to drive back to the front. So things happen. Mistakes were made.
Things happen.
Sounds like he deserved it.
Yeah, he may have. I'm going to say my brake pedal wasn't working. I don't know why. It's weird.
Man, that's weird. I've seen that happen to you a few times now.
Sometimes. What can I say?
Other
Few times.
weaknesses, we're slow learners and we're not particularly good listeners.
So that's what happens.
the truth.
That's what happens. But yeah, so anyways, last week, like I said, we talked about the little stuff. I think this week we should talk a little bit about innovative management. Does that sound like fun?
Yeah. It's like a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds
Wonderful.
like a great time, doesn't it? You guys don't sound like it sounds like very fun. You guys actually sound a lot like this. But no, I think we should talk about it because when you start thinking about it, I thought it'd be fun to talk about the unique management styles that are out there. When you think about myself and I think about the way I manage, and then I start to think about the way other people manage, and I just think there's a lot of different ways that people handle different situations. And I thought to myself that some of the best leaders that I have ever personally dealt with have had a very creative management style. And, so there's so many people who do it old school still, or, like everyone else does, and it seems to work for them. Obviously there's a reason why it works for so many managers that way. But, like I said, it seems like some of the most successful people I know have done it their own way or been very innovative in their management style.
I think that's what it takes to be successful in most things these days.
I agree. Yeah, I think, being innovative is important in anything you do. But, I think a lot of managers, they rule with an iron fist a lot of times, right? And, I mean, I guess
for sure.
It works, right? I mean, how many businesses run businesses that way? I mean, a lot of companies, that's how they do business. But I feel like
corporate especially.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, but I feel like that's mostly like in the corporate world, like, they scare their employees into doing it a certain way. And it's like, I think, here we're a lot different about it than that, and I just started thinking about some of the stuff we do and how we handle things. And it's really more of a, conversational, we talk about a lot of like change, and we talk about things that we're doing, and we take feedback. And that doesn't mean there aren't days when we're like, this is how we're doing it, and that's what you're going to do. But I mean, that's part of managing, right? There's some days you just got to put your foot down and you got to tell everybody like, yeah, I know this kind of sucks, but we're going to do it this way, right? You're going to have to get used to that. But for the majority of it, I think we are very innovative here when we do certain things. And I started to think about like the way other businesses run their, themselves, and, customers of ours, I hear like the way they manage their businesses. And it started making me like really start to think about that whole innovative management topic, and that's kind of where I went today with this. So, I guess before we get too deep into it, let's go to the general, way we start things is, what do you guys think about when I ask you about innovative management or just management in general? What do you guys think about? Like,
I guess after you talking there, I think about IQX, or what we've been working on here with, developing the new quoting system.
Yeah.
Finding a way to make our process faster was innovative, and the system is now better.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about you, Chad, or excuse me, Jesse?
I think about a manager when you think innovative management, a manager that's able to make changes on the fly, adapt with what's happening in real time, right? And be willing to take chances, take risks like we have, like you have, not just for the company, but for the people that work for you. You got a good manager always looks for the people underneath them, right? You don't just boss them around, you work with them.
Yeah, for sure. No, I can appreciate that. What do you think about it, Garrett?
I like what Jesse said.
I like it. Just a
Well,
solid.
honestly, there was a few things I was thinking, and then I kind of forgot what I was going to say. So I don't even remember.
Oh, Garrett.
So we've talked about this a lot in previous episodes too, though. Like we do things a little different. Brandon, you've spoke about that. You do things different than anyone we've ever met. You're like nobody else. You're innovative. You're always looking for what's happening, what's going on, what's new, and you're trying to keep that in mind with all the decisions you make. And I think that's a lot of managers should do that. A lot more companies should do that. Don't just focus on where you're at as a manager and what's going on right in front of you. You got to continue to think outside the box for the company and the people that are working for you.
You like that? You like that?
That's kind of my style right there, right?
It kind of.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
No, but I mean, yeah, and I appreciate that, honestly. I mean, I personally think about, being different. I mean, that's what I think about, doing what is unexpected. I don't personally ever like to be status quo, right? That's just not who I am as a person. I like to be better than the last or better than the normal, right? So when you look at a manager, there are so many bad managers out there, and I always pride myself on trying to be in the top 50% versus the bottom 50%, right? I mean, you got 100% of managers out there, right? And I don't want to be the bottom half. Like I want to rank in the top half. And, for me, that's really where it all comes from. And it's just about, it's not even about how you manage people as much as it is about how you manage situations. That's my biggest thing. Is I think a lot of people, when they hear managers, it's like, oh, how do you manage your people, right? Like, no, like for me, managing the people is a small part of what I do daily. In a larger part of what I do is managing situational, circumstances. It's things that come up that you just aren't expecting, right? Delays in product, delays in equipment, shipping issues, whatever it is, being able to manage through those situations. And, a lot of what we get into is managing the climate, right? I mean, we're in a up and down climate right now with the economy and the world, and being able to manage that as a business, right? And it's more than just how are you managing the people, but how are you managing the situation for your people? That to me is what I think gets missed in management is, really when we say innovative management, what is innovative management? Well, I mean, innovative means featuring new methods, right? Advanced or original. Well, management means the process of dealing with or controlling things or people. It's not just people. And I think that's where bad managers, when they hear management, they think of the people. They think about who can they control, who do they talk to, who do they, basically boss around, if you will, right? I think good managers think about situations and think about how you make the company better. It's not about the people, and what you can make them do. It's about how can you make the people that work for you make their lives easier. And I think, and I feel like that's something I do probably a little bit better than most people is I can situationally, correct things. I don't necessarily make sweeping changes and say, this didn't work, so we're never doing it again. I look at it as, what can I do to make it better for the future? It didn't work this time, but how do we tweak it, right? Rather than throw it away and just like, oh, it didn't work, we'll figure something else out. Like, no, what can we do? And I, at the same time, I'm not so stubborn on it. There are times that I've just thrown things away, right? I mean, this doesn't work. Like, there's no good upside to this. Nobody had anything good to say. Let's start over, right? I think that's the difference. So therefore, innovative management would mean advanced or new ways of dealing with things or people, right? And that's really what we're talking about. As when you look at this, what's this mean in finding a way to do things, that you need to get done, right? What is something you can do that's more advanced to your current method, right? That you, as an example, I like to use cabinet makers because it's a topic we can talk about quite a bit. But in a cabinet shop, right, you're going to have to cut the cabinets out, right? So is there not a way that we can do this more advanced? What's a methodology that will allow us to become more profitable? There's got to be something there. And, we're going to do it without following the status quo, right? Getting yourself into the normal, or getting yourself out of the normal rut, right? I mean, the normal rut, a lot of people, it's just normal, right? It's just, you go to work every day, 9 to 5, and it's the job. But it's like, there's ways to make things better every day. Every day in everybody's job, world, life, whatever you're doing. Like, if every single day you repeat the same thing, you need to change something.
Especially without thinking, could I do this easier?
Correct.
Or better.
Yeah. And I think, there's so many, but
Smarter.
Or smarter. There you go. Yeah, you hear it in people's lives all the time, though, even like, oh, man, this happened again to me. Oh, this happened again. Oh, this. And it's like, you just want to like grab them and shake them and be like, then change something. Stop complaining about it and change something. You're never going to get a different result if you don't make a change. And a lot of managers, I think that's where they go wrong. They complain about, the employees, or they complain about the process, or they complain about, so many things in their business, but they're not doing anything to change it. They're just showing up every day and expecting somebody else to do the work because they're the manager. Somebody else will do it, right? That's not how it works. Like, I'm one of those guys. I'm very hands-on. I'm not afraid to get in the trenches, and sometimes I push you guys out of the way. Like, let me do it. I'll do it. Let me help you with it. And it's not because you're not capable of it. It's because I'll help you fix that problem, right? I can do that while you're working on something else. I mean, and that's kind of sometimes, this is going to be more about getting yourself out of the rut, before you can truly advance your business, right? And, you can't advance your job. You can't advance your employment, your employees, whatever you're looking at. You really can't change it if you are not doing something different. And, that's where it comes from, So before we get too far into it, I guess let's talk about the management, styles out there, or let's talk about management in general and, the effects it can have on a business. Do you guys have any, suggestions on, I guess, what are some common ways of management that you guys think of when you think of managers?
Coaching.
Yeah. I mean, it's not surprising it came from Chad, he's a football guy, and obviously, coaching is something that probably helped you through your entire time playing football, correct?
Absolutely.
And I think when you look at that, coaching managers, they're teacher-like, right? Like realistically, they enjoy helping others learn, grow, and develop while still focusing on the greater success, right? The company success. Well, if you don't make the employees better, or if you don't make the processes better, or if you don't make the equipment better, or the tools or whatever you're using better, how can you expect success? It's not going to change, right? It's not going to get better. You're not going to grow. You're not going to become this large corporation by doing all the wrong things all the time, right?
I would say, to me, the controlling ones, the ones that think they have more authority, it's like you hired someone to do a certain job, yet you stand over their shoulder and you tell them you can and can't do this. It's like you hired that person with that skill set to do something, yet you take that away from them because you're managing them to an extent that doesn't allow them to show their true potential.
Would you call that like an authoritative, essentially, kind of manager?
Oh,
is what
for
you
sure.
say? He generally controls most of the process, right?
Right.
Or micro.
Yeah.
Authoritative, dictator. They go. You could switch those out, I think, at times.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, like you said, micromanagement, I think falls into that category. A lot more micromanagement, less trust, is the biggest thing that I see. It's less trust in the decisions of those around them. And there's two ways that happens. In my opinion, people micromanage when the process around them has proven to not work, right? If somebody, as an example, somebody's not doing their job, they're generally going to find themselves being micromanaged, right? Because the people around them are questioning if that can be resolved, right? Or if they can do what they're supposed to be doing. But the same can be said with like processes, right? You can micromanage a process. I find that amusing because we sell CNC machines, right? And I mean, Jesse and Chad, how many times have you guys heard customers tell you that they can't walk away from their other machine that they own?
Often.
Oh, often.
And would that not be considered micromanagement?
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that.
Right? They're micromanaging that machine that they own because they're so untrusting of its abilities. I got to stand there and make sure this thing cuts right. What's the point of having the machine then? You're sitting there watching it anyways, right?
Might as well do it yourself.
Correct. And that's how I look at that is it's like, when we talk about management styles, that's still managing the process, right? And to me, that's something that you have to look at. Like if you are doing that, you're standing there babysitting your machine because you don't trust it, then you need to get that resolved. And with ShopSabre, we're really big on the fact that we don't want you to have to babysit this machine all day long, right? Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we try to make it so that really when you buy a ShopSabre, you can set the machine up, do its thing, but you can be doing something else while it's doing it, right?
Yep.
Sabre.com. Yeah, shopsabre.com. So the big thing about that though is when you start looking at, micromanaging, it's more than just people again. It's processes, it's the business. It's, even in your life, right? Like, I'm going to be honest, I micromanage the heck out of my kids because they're not old enough yet where I can trust their decisions, right? So there's a time when you do have to micromanage certain things. It doesn't mean that you're going to micromanage everything, right? But I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. When my son walks outside with a baseball bat and he walks outside wearing, a full-fledged hockey helmet, I start to micromanage what might be happening, right? Why do you need a full-fledged hockey helmet and a baseball bat?
That's a good situation. Yeah.
Right?
That's a good situation to micromanage.
Yeah, I'm going to probably question whether that's a good decision he's making, right?
When I think that brings up the point that I kind of said earlier, like there's a time to be authoritative. There's a time where you're kind of being counterproductive. Am I golfing?
No, I just was really proud of that statement. I agree with that statement though. There is a time when you do have to micromanage things.
But I think it can be positive and negative,
Correct.
depending on
it's
the
all
circumstance.
on the circumstance, exactly. And then, I think of another manager that I think of is a result-based manager, right, or management. Generally, you're focusing on the end goal, and concerned about the performance more than the little things. And I try to personally, I look at a lot of different management styles, and this is one of them that I try to encompass in what I do. I always have tried to be more of a coaching method and a result based because, I'm a firm believer that, 8 plus 2 is 10, but so is 9 plus 1. Like there's more than one way to perform a job, right? And just because it's not my way always, like I try to understand like, okay, as long as the results are happening, it's not as critical how we got there. It's results, and that's really, at the end of the day, that's what you're looking for in business, right? Is the results and, giving more decision-making responsibility to your employees as long as their results are there. I mean, there's a lot of times that you guys go throughout your day and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like throughout your day there's no set, like I put a schedule in front of you and say, these things are how you have to do it and we have to do it right now. Like I tell you the things that are on your plate, right? Like, hey, these are the things we need to get accomplished. I kind of let you guys make the decision on what's prioritized and where it's prioritized, as long as at the end of the day, it's all getting done, people are getting taken care of, and the business is being taken care of, correct?
Right.
Correct, yep.
So that's
right.
Yeah, that's a big part of it here is, for us is the result-based thing. And, when you start looking at your businesses, same thing. Let's go back to look at the business and the equipment in your shop. Is that not result-based as well?
Right.
When you start looking at like a CNC machine, again, because that's what we sell, if your parts are coming off the machine, they're straight, they're right, they're good, you can use them, and you're not having to sit there and spend a bunch of time on it, that's a good result, right?
Correct.
You're probably not micromanaging that machine then. You're probably not worried about how it's happening as much as, hey, our product's getting out the door, people are happy.
Or having to sand apart
Right,
off the machine.
Yeah. What was that, Jesse?
Right, you're getting the results. You're getting the results you're looking for.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's exactly it. You try to set yourself up for results, And then you have the strategic style managers, they build a management style around an end goal. So like, here is our end goal. We got to get this many parts out this week, right? And, their biggest thing is they delegate the duties to various team members. And everyone has a purpose and a place. And I feel like that's very much how we run production here, right? When you look at ShopSabre from a production standpoint, it's very strategic. It's not like, well, we hope we get this many machines out. Let's see what happens at the end of the week, right? Like, no, we have a plan in place. Mm-hmm. Like, we know these people build these components. These people, their job is to paint the machines. These people's job is to mill the machines. These are to weld it, right? And everybody has a delegated job, right, or responsibility. And from there, the strategy is we're all going to finish our jobs this week, and by the end of the week, this comes together, right?
Efficiency.
Yeah, it's very efficient because you have delegated duties to other various members of your team versus trying to take it all on yourself. I mean, what if you had one guy and his job was to build the machine start to finish? Like literally start to finish. Walk to the saw, cut the parts, take those parts over to the welder, weld them up himself, then take that, bring it over to the mill it, Like how much less efficient is that going to be?
It'd be slow. It'd be incredibly slow, and he'd be sick of building machines by the time he got done with the first one.
Yeah, for sure.
He'd be worn out. He would be worn out. Absolutely.
Talk about safety, though, right? If you got one guy trying to do it all, is he really trained properly in everything then?
No.
Probably not. He's mediocre at everything, right? Like searching for mediocrity. Sweet. Like that's not what we're doing here. We're going to be, we're results driven, right? We're strategic. We want things to go well. So, when you do that, I think that makes it a much better result for the product and for your company. And I think that's one of the hardest things that a manager can let go of is control. Most management teams have a hard time letting go of certain processes or things because you have to trust the people you hired. If you can't trust who you hired the wrong people. Simple as that. Like, so anybody listening right now, if you are one of those managers sitting there and you're driving down the road right now and you're going to check on that employee, I want you to think about why you're doing that. Like, why are you micromanaging them? If you can't trust they're going to do the job, do you have the right employee? Probably not. If you can't trust the machine's going to get the job done, do you have the right machine? Probably not. So, the other style of management that I think of is proactive, right? Being a proactive manager. Typically looking in advance for the potential failure points, right? You look in advance so you're not being reactive to a problem, but more of proactive to, a solution. Mm-hmm. Changes in the industry, whatever it is, so maybe you start looking at it and you're like, hey, if this happens, then this could happen. Well, let's not let that happen. Before we get to that point, let's make sure everything that we've done prevents us from being in a bad spot should that take place. Or we have a backup plan, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like having a generator at your house, right? If the power goes out, you don't have the generator sitting there because the power went out. You have it sitting there in case the power goes out.
Like Jesse's doomsday shelter.
His doomsday shelter. Hey, Jesse,
Yeah.
how many rounds of ammunition are in the doomsday shelter?
0, sir. They all were destroyed in a fire in the flood.
In the flood?
Do you have to say that legally?
Yeah, there was a fire, and then they came with the hoses, and everything was flooded. I don't own any. 0.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it's sad. I used to have a lot.
I know you used to have a lot.
Yeah.
But that's the point is like, joking aside there, it's one of those things where like being prepared for certain situations in your life, like you have to be ready. I guess what's another.
I take that to extreme.
Hey, being prepared. I think you were kind of trained to do that, weren't you, when you're in the military? Isn't that kind of what they trained you to do?
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean,
a little bit, yeah.
You were kind of trained to do that, so I can't really say that it's your fault on that one.
It ruined me. But no, yeah, I like what you were saying there. I'm just being prepared, right? You have to be prepared of what's coming. And I wanted to kind of hit on that when you were talking on that is it seems like, we do a really good job of that and find ways of being prepared of things that we don't even know is coming. It's like we're constantly ready for what's coming our way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all on that. I think that to me, being proactive is one of the biggest things companies fail to do. They forget to look forward. It's working, right? Everything's working right now.
I think some people don't have that vision. It's like they fail to get that forward vision, like what's coming.
Do they though? Let me ask you that, Jesse. Do they really not have the vision or do they just not care?
It could be both. It could be, hey, I'm so busy that I can't even think about what's coming. Yeah. Or it's like you said, I don't care.
See, and that's what I think you hit it on its head right there. I think if I can say what I think it is what you just said. It's not that they don't care. They are so busy, they have no time to think about anything else. Especially today, right?
I have 210 orders and I need to get those out, and that's all I can think about right now.
So am I really going to think about developing a new product when I have 210 orders to get out?
No, you can't. I'm overwhelmed by what I have.
Correct. So being proactive is kind of hard at that point, right? What would you consider that then? Reactive?
You're reactive. Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Which is what's called another management style, right? Someone who watches what's happening and then reacts to the situation. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Walks around with a fire extinguisher, right?
But that's exactly. A lot of times. They're pretty dang good firefighters usually. They usually have higher stress situations, right? If you find yourself in a very high stress situation a lot, you have to start looking at, am I being reactive? Rather than getting ahead of everything, I'm always being reactive to what's happening around me. My point is, if you wait till the water starts coming in the boat to grab the bucket, you're gonna feel like you're behind, right? But if you have that pump running,
you are behind.
Yeah, if you have the pump running and keeping the water from getting in the boat, I don't need the bucket. Correct?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, it all makes sense there, right?
Yeah, you got to get ahead of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another management style. I guess, what's another management style that comes to mind for you guys? I mean, I've obviously named a bunch of them here, but I guess I'm going to give you guys the floor a little bit here. What's another?
I think kind of like what I just said, a visionary, right? Someone who can foresee what's coming and plan for that.
Yeah, so build a strategy into their decision and processes, right?
Absolutely.
Something like that. Chad, what do you think?
Transformational.
Yeah, transformational. Let's talk about that. What do you think about with transformational?
Just getting excited about growth or,
Yeah, somebody who's adapting maybe. I like that. Excited about I like that statement. Excited about growth because you have to be excited about growth. You can't be afraid of growth. You can't be scared of growth. You need to be excited about it. So I agree with that transformational. I love that. That's actually a really good one. Adapting to industries change, right? You're transforming. You're motivational, right? It's a motivational management style. Like, hey, I know this change is coming. And so many people hate change. I mean, there's a guy on my team that I deal with every day who loves change, just loves it. Cadillac loves the change. But in all seriousness, though, there are times when you're like, hey, you know what? You've been through a lot of things with a lot of companies, right? And you're like, man, every time something changed, it was always a bad change. So it's not like, it's really hard for you to let go of that, right? Like, man, I've been through 3 changes with manager and it's always bad, right?
Yep.
So I always have to kind of try to be motivational, like, man, but think about the good side of this. And fortunately for us, we've been able to work through a lot of that. And like you said it earlier, IQX, it made you nervous right away, right?
Yep.
It was different. It was not what we do. But you said it, like it's one of your favorite things now because it has made your job easier, not harder.
A lot easier, a lot better.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of managers go wrong. They don't look at the effects of their decisions on the company, on the customer, and sometimes more importantly, on the actual employees themselves. I'm going to change this one thing because it makes my job easier, right? But it makes all their employees' jobs 10 times harder. What happens to the culture then?
A bunch of unhappy employees.
Yeah, and then people leave, right? I call it the exodus, right? You know, at that point, everybody just starts mass exiting because once their buddy's gone, the next guy's gone, the next guy's gone. It just starts, right? But if you can keep people, you know, engaged in the company and the culture, what are they doing for your customers then?
The same thing.
Right? They're keeping them engaged. They're keeping them excited. So it's like, it's a win-win. Sometimes the managers have to look beyond themselves, in my opinion, and start looking at what can I do to help those around me, even if it means it's going to add work to my plate. And that's what I've done. I mean, I've been spending more time on Zoom meetings than I would like to admit with some of these system integrations that we're doing, right? You know, the phone system I'm working on, obviously this quoting system. You know, I've spent more time on Zoom meetings in the last 6 months than I probably have my entire life. But I'm seeing the results with you guys and like how much easier it is for you guys to do what you're doing every day. And the best part about it is how many customers are saying like, man, you guys are so fast. Like, because they can spend more time on the phone with you. They don't have to panic and worry about how do I get through my day. Like we've seen that. Let's be honest. What sparked all this? It was reactive. Let's be honest. I was reactive on the situation. We went through December. It was crazy busy. We were all busy. We had no hours left in the day. Garrett, you jumped in. We're doing things that you normally wouldn't have to do, right? We're all doing what we could to bail the water out of the boat, right? Yep. Keep ourselves ahead. And I said, did I not? In January, I looked at you guys and said, that's never going to happen again.
Absolutely.
Never happening again. And we went to work. And we went to work really hard on trying to make sure that we were better than we were, right?
And we are.
Yeah, I think we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hands down.
There's one more that I can think of, and I think that's a relationship first manager or owner, because that's something that I just did recently. What'd you say, Jesse?
You're talking about Brandon now, aren't you? The charismatic fella.
He is a charismatic fella. But I just had a instance because I have a photography business, and there is a Vikings player that I wanted to shoot photos for. And in the email that I wrote to his manager, I was like, I want to build a relationship. I don't really care about the money. I'm willing to take less money because I want to build that relationship because that can lead you into new doors. So that's something. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing over there, Jesse?
I moved a piece of paper. I'm sorry.
It sounded like you were going to the bathroom.
But yeah.
Oh, really? No, I just moved a piece of paper.
Okay, well.
But relationship first, that's definitely a style, I think, too.
You know, I love that story, too. I'm glad you told it because I didn't know if you were allowed to talk about some of that stuff.
I don't know, but I didn't say the name.
Yeah, exactly. We won't say the name, but it was pretty cool. Like, but to see the excitement you got out of it. Like, and I think, Chad, you saw it, too, right? I mean, when he was talking about it, like, how excited he got about this opportunity. And, like, we were all really engaged in that for him, but like exactly that, building that relationship was something important to you because like you said, how many doors could that open for you in your business if you just take a little bit less on the front end, right? Because it's easy.
Or put in more time. It's not always money. It's just maybe you got to put in more time for that.
But I'm saying
to show them that you care.
But even that, you're still taking less on the front end, right? It's not necessarily financially, but you're taking less away from your personal time, right? You're like, hey, I don't need freedom right now on time. I'm going to give you more of my attention because I'm hoping it gets me something in the long run, right? It's a payback long term. It's the long game, right? The reality is, you guys are all golfers here, right? You guys, you play for 9 holes. You play for 18 holes. Whatever you're playing, you play for the whole game. One bad hole doesn't define your whole entire game, right? You try to brush off a bad hole and you go have, 8 good ones to follow it, right? It's the same thing in business. It's the same thing that you go into these situations where you got to understand that as a manager for your business, we might be doing something that's not going to help us immensely today. It's actually slowing us down at the moment, right? Because I have all these extra meetings and I can't be focused on certain things. But what's the end game? In 6 months, what's that look like? Well, it looks like a bunch of wins now to me. All the employees around me are happy. They're all going home at 5:30 now instead of having to work till 9. And they're able to go spend time with their family. They're able to go golfing. They're able to go fishing. They're able to go drinking. Whatever they got to do.
Or able to help a couple more customers.
Yeah, but that was my point. Is all these other things are great, right? Because now you get to go camping and you get to go golfing and you get to go do all this stuff. But now you're probably going to be a little bit more willing that when something does come up, I can help that customer real quick. I know I'm going to have the free time to make up for it, right? it's not as big of a burden. But when you're always fighting fires and you're always trying to play catch up and you're behind and you just can't get ahead, are you willing to take on more? Probably not.
Typically not.
Yeah, typically not. You're usually going to look for something else to do. So, realistically, when you start looking at your next move, what are you doing for your business?
There's probably a website you should visit.
Which one?
I don't know. Do you know it?
I know it.
ShopSabre.com.
It's a good website. It's a great website. In fact, it's getting some updates right now. Pretty excited about that. Woo. Woo. That button's over there somewhere, but you have the buttons. Yeah. There's something to think about with, now these are just a handful of examples, right? Are they not?
Yeah.
There's obviously probably a lot. We could sit here for probably another 3 hours and talk about management styles, right? But there's a lot of managers that pose several styles together. That's one thing I want to point out is that, we named a bunch of things, but it doesn't mean like if you're reactive that you aren't coaching your employees. Like it doesn't mean that. Like you can be multiple things at one time. There's nobody telling you can't. As a manager, you have to look at how you're reacting to situations, changes in the world, and ultimately the tasks on your plate and determine what can you do to help your business grow? What can you do to adapt to the clients, to the, work that you have, whatever it is, and what can you do to become more productive as a company? Mm-hmm. Does that mean employees managing them differently? Maybe. Does that mean managing your processes differently? Maybe. Like whatever that process is, you need to do something.
Right.
And so, I believe confidently a lot of managers get stuck in that rut of one of two things happening next, right? They forget what got the company to where it was today. They completely forget what got them there, who they were. Or they become blind to the necessary advancements because we've always done it this way, right? That's the two favorite things that I see is that they forgot that what made them there, who they are, is they took care of people, right? But they also get stuck in that we've always done it this way. We don't need to do it differently. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you did it that way because the internet didn't exist when you started, buddy.
27 years ago, CNC machines weren't as...
Yeah, exactly. They weren't exactly. I mean, seriously, 27 years ago, CNC machines took up your entire house because they were so big. Now you can put machines in your garage. Like, it's not the same, or, even advertising. Garrett, let's talk about that for a second. How many people are like, they still want to do it old school, right?
Can't do it.
We're going to print it in a magazine. Cool.
You got to evolve.
I can't tell you the last time I looked in a magazine.
You got to evolve.
There's this crazy thing that they came out with. I know it's a fad. It might go away. It's called the internet. But it's just crazy. Like when you start thinking about it, where we've come in 22 plus years, right? Mm-hmm. Facebook wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing when we were doing that, when we started.
Right.
Now, we have a Facebook group, we have Facebook pages, we have all this stuff that we use. If we had just stuck with the, old adage of, hey, we just always done it this way, we'd never have made it to here. We wouldn't have a website.
An ad on YouTube.
I love when customers tell us that too. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I had a customer tell me that. What's that?
No, I was just saying, I was commenting on Chad's comment real fast before we get away from it. As he mentioned about an ad on YouTube. It was kind of cool. Today we were all out on the internet looking at a video, and you know how it plays that ad before the video starts? It was our own ad.
Yeah.
It was sweet.
Oh, that's awesome.
We saw ourselves. And we were like, what? That's pretty cool, though, because that stuff is things that didn't exist 22 years ago when we started.
Yep.
You just got your name in front of someone.
Yeah.
By chance.
Yeah. What were you saying now, Jesse? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I didn't want to let that comment get away from us.
No, that's okay. I love when customers say that. This is the way it's always been done. I had a customer say, my grandpa started this company in 1947, and it's always been done this way. And the very first thing I said back to him was, if your grandpa could have bought this machine in 1947, he would have bought it.
And that's the truth. I love that statement because that's exactly it. You get guys that they get so set in their ways. Well, we've done it for 40 years this way. I promise you 40 years ago when you started, if you could have done it this way, you probably would have.
That's right.
No doubt.
You're not going to do it harder, right? I mean, let's be honest. I think you have to remember how you got to where you are and not change your core values, right? Taking care of people, building a better product, whatever it is. But I also think you have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone and embrace the changes of the world and allow your customers to guide you a little bit, right?
Right, for sure.
So, as you start looking at it, let's talk about management effects real quick. With management, you can affect so much within your business, right? Or we're, really not just talking about the employees, like we said, but the things, the situations that, where you're going. Mm-hmm. So management can overlook mundane tasks that cost the company time and ultimately money. That's one thing I've noticed is that as a manager, you don't look at the little things anymore, right? Like I have to stay in tune with a lot of stuff. And I go out there and I try to walk the floor every single day just to see what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it. And just because sometimes something catches you off, off the corner of your eye, you're like, wait, what was that? And like you see it and you look at it again. And it just makes you question, like, why did we do it that way? And sometimes I do. I walk up to my brother and I'll be like, why are we doing it that way? Mm-hmm. And then he'll explain it to me. I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. But sometimes he looks at it and he's like, yeah, we do need to change that. And it's just that spark of a question by just asking, why do we do it that way? It's not that I'm saying anybody's doing it wrong. Sometimes I just don't know why we're doing it a certain way and I want to understand it. But sometimes by asking that question, you make everybody wonder, why are we doing it that way? Or you get the answer of, because we've always done it that way. Okay, well now let's look a little further. Is there a reason why we should change that, But, I think, are you cutting things by hand still? Let's ask yourself that. If the answer is yes, why? In today's world, is it the best use of your employees' time and skills? Are there tools that could speed that up for you?
Yes.
Yes. Could you be giving them new opportunities and abilities to process more with less?
Yes.
Yes. Are you still organizing things the old school way?
I'm going to ace this test.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing you got to think about. When you're organizing, and I ask you this because how many companies still use Post-it notes? And they write down the answer on a Post-it note, right? What they're looking for, what they need to do, and they stick it on the wall. And they stick it on their desk. They stick it on their computer. And they have a billion Post-it notes sitting there.
I have some.
But
reminders.
Yeah, but my thing is in organizational, wouldn't it be smarter just to use your calendars? You have a cell phone, and this calendar is connected. So if anything I put on my computer also pops up on my cell phone. So now I have something that follows me. So even if I'm not at my computer, I know something's happening or something's coming up.
And gives you reminders.
Crazy reminders.
I think a calendar works for most things, but if it's something that you don't have a specific time or day to get to it, then I write a note, I stick it on my computer. I'm never going to miss it. Yeah. I'll see that thing every day, and then as soon as I can get to it, then I can get to it.
But do you, though? Because think about it. If that note is there every day, eventually you start just looking past that note because it becomes normal.
For some people, I'm different.
But that's my point, though, is like as an organizational standpoint, from a company organization, there's a reason why people use Teams messaging now, and they use their calendars, and you set reminders, and we just came out with a new meeting thing that we can create meetings now that are super awesome. But it helps you organize your day. So doing it the old school way, could maybe a piece of software help you solve that? One thing that I always love is, which you guys might not have ever gotten into it a whole lot, but is how you manage accounting. When you look at so many businesses, small businesses, they have like these manila envelope full of receipts, like just full of receipts. And in today's world, like, why don't you just scan those into your computer? Like, get rid of the receipt side of it and just scan them. Make them all digital. Like, it's so easy. Your cell phone, like, I can do it on my iPhone. They have a scanner feature that comes standard on the iPhone. And you can just scan your receipts right in the computer. And like with QuickBooks and all these other programs, you can buy software that helps you manage this stuff. Like, you don't have to do it the old school way. So I think that's something that people need to think about too, is, can that help you organize and track your team's efforts? You have expense reports. You can start tracking who's spending more money. Where are you getting the most profitability from? Are you still limiting your staff, numbers because it worked in the past? We only needed 4 guys in the past. Okay, well, you're 10 years later. Maybe it's time to add a 5th. You have to start thinking about it is, just because it worked in the past, you're now just less profitable, right? Because your guys are spending so much time doing things they could be doing differently and making you more money.
Or how about like you, when you had to stop doing social media and stuff, you were too busy?
Correct. That's exactly it. Like I did our social media while selling, while doing marketing, while still helping in tech support. There was a time I did all that. I don't have time to do social media by myself anymore. Like, I have a crew. Like, I have people that do that. I have a Garrett.
And sometimes that's what you have to think about too is...
But even you, Garrett, don't have time.
Sometimes, yeah, but it's, do I need to contract that out? Sometimes there's things that you just can't do yourself, and it's causing other parts of your business to fall.
Correct. And that's exactly it. That's why I said sometimes you don't even have the time. And when you don't have the time for certain things, we have other people that we can depend on, right? Mm-hmm. Videos and editing. And there's certain things that we do in-house. A lot of it we do in-house.
Right.
But there is people that we pay to help us on the side when a big project comes up that we need a little extra help with, right? For some design work, things like that.
Yep.
And so it makes sense to look when you're wasting money. You know, you're stepping over, dollars to save pennies. You can't do that. So, start thinking about that stuff. What about, environmental changes, right? Could you grow more if you had more space? Could you get more work done if you had more space? How much time is wasted looking for things on a daily basis because you don't know where they're at because you have so much crap packed in such a small area? Mm-hmm. If you just organized it, right? Again, management in your day-to-day, your personal and professional life all make the difference in the direction you're going to head. Being innovative in management can help your company and your personal growth. It's going to help you all around. And I think the biggest thing I could say is don't be afraid to be better than you were yesterday, but don't forget you can easily become worse if you're not aware of the change. Simple as that.
I agree.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you very much on that one, Garrett.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
I like
good.
that. That was very good.
So I think, with that, it kind of wraps up my take on innovative management. I guess, do you guys have anything you want to add to innovative management?
I think you covered everything.
No, you crushed
You
it.
crushed.
Killed it.
Got it?
You crushed.
Yeah. And we're done. No, but, like I said, I think the one thing I'll say is be better than you were yesterday. Innovate, embrace, and hustle. I think that's the one thing I can say is never stop hustling. Keep going. Keep getting better. Keep changing things for the better. Sometimes that means it's going to get worse before it gets better because things get more stressful. Things get harder to deal with. I mean, there's so many things you can do, but you have to just remember that sometimes, you took one step back to move 3 steps forward. It happens. We've all done it. We all continue to do it. Stress is what you make it. Start controlling the situation. Start thinking ahead. Start being innovative. You'll take the stress out of your life.
Gotta have drive.
Gotta have drive.
Sometimes it just takes a cup of coffee or a Red Bull. They gotta have drive.
A stiffer shock on the left or
Ooh,
right.
dude, Red Bull.
Or
I want a Red Bull.
glass of
Thanks,
whiskey.
Garrett.
Red Bull.
Or a glass of whiskey.
Whiskey.
No. Yeah.
Or wait, no.
You'd think after this last weekend, you would just be done.
Yeah.
That's kind of
I
what I was
actually-
thinking
I
there, too.
am
Like,
done.
man, you went straight to the booze.
Yeah.
No, for a week I'm done.
How about a beer?
Yeah.
I don't think
Friday.
I could. I went
And
to the Twins game yesterday and I didn't drink.
Yeah, and then Saturday they'll come along and he'll just be all excited.
I'll just have 4 to 5 beers to stop the shaking, and then I'll go outside.
I'm working this week and I have a wedding.
How about a beer?
That's how that's going to go.
I'm professional.
I don't know about that.
All right, well, it's time to stop this episode.
I think so. But yeah, like I said, I hope everybody learned something today. Hopefully everybody has fun with this. But like I said, being innovative is something that you have a choice on. I think everybody should look at their processes, what they're doing, and really just try to, upgrade their business, upgrade their personal life, just make changes that will affect you long term. So with that, I'm Brandon.
I'm Chad.
I'm Jesse.
Thanks for talking shop with ShopSabre.